All right, wanted to give you a brief introduction on how this is going to work for the 61 to 63 sedan. I'm going to do this video in two parts. The first will be kind of how to install and set up sort of the motherboard of the brain. The second video that I've yet to make, because I'm still getting there, will be on sort of how to set up and install the relay modules. I have them hooked up though, so you can see them functioning. Just don't actually worry too much about the function at this moment. So essentially what there is on the top of the board here is the power supply. So coming into that is just simply 12 volts and ground. So however you want to grab that. So right now I have that alligator clipped just into like a power supply I have over there. So the only thing this needs is 12 volts and ground. Okay, so there's my power. I have my ground over here on my ground alligator clip, and then it's also grounding the relays, the sub boards for the relays. So I just have it on the alligator clip for now. When these get put inside the door, you'll just hook that ground wire to chassis ground, to the door ground. So essentially what I have over here, got a pair of relays that determine the position of the door, the Arduino itself. This is sort of a power distribution, as well as lets you tune the delay or the length of time the window runs up and down, and then of course the power buck converter. So I have the Arduino right now set up in debug mode, so that I can actually visually see the length of time when I ship this out. I have a final version of the software that'll go on this that I'll send out with it, so it's not using unnecessary power running in debug mode. So right now you can see it running on the COM on my computer. So right now it's saying uptime is 2500 milliseconds. So when you close the door, the window rolls up. It'll run that relay for 2.5 seconds, and then down means that when you open the door, the length of time that it runs it down. So that is adjustable. So on the board here, the potentiometer that is closest at the end of the USB port, that is the up relay. So what you do, just use a little tiny screwdriver and you just turn it. So I'll show you as I turn it. See, the up time is decreasing, right? So I just turned it clockwise. So now as I turn it counterclockwise, you can see the time is increasing. So I'm going to have that set kind of out of the box at around 2 seconds. Likewise for the downtime, okay, so the potentiometer away from the USB, it will be, as you turn it, right, so it actually turns in the opposite direction. So that was counterclockwise, was approaching 0. Clockwise is increasing, and it maxes out at 4 seconds. I'll have that. So now I'm turning it counterclockwise, and the downtime, the time that it runs the motors down, is decreasing. So I'll have that out of the box set around 3/4 of a second, right about there, give or take. So then what the way that the system works is there's these 2 wires here. So you'll have to extend these wires. So those wires will go out to the factory pin in the B pillar inside of the latch. So when you open the door, that pin creates ground. So you'll have to disconnect the idiot light off of the back. The wire off the back of those factory pins that goes to the light on the dash that says rear door ajar. You'll have to lose that, extend this wire, hook it onto that pin. That way when the door opens, that pin goes to ground. So what I'll do is I will show you what happens when this goes to ground. So there's one for left, one for right. I forget which one's which, but I'll label them. And I mean, you'll be able to tell as soon as you touch one to ground. So what I'll do is I'll just take this one for the sake of argument. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to touch it here on the ground coming in, only because I can't reach over to here. So when I touch this to ground, so it's also noteworthy, these relay boards have a little light on them, a little status light, so you'll know which relay is firing. So this will simulate the door opening because the pin's going to ground. Oh. Okay, so you'll see that relay over there, that very top one, activated. Okay, so now what I'll do, because I'm still holding it to ground, which means your door is open, so when I let go, so now it's fired the second relay. So that relay will be what powers the window to go down, which means, and I've disconnected it, which means you've closed the door, so it's broken ground. So now when I touch it back to ground again, oh, I keep missing. Let go. I'll do it a little more cleanly. There. So that's touching it. That means it's gone to ground. That means the door is opened, so it's fired the relay to open the window, roll the window down. When I let go of the wire, which means you close the door, the next relay, the second relay fires, which means it's rolling the window up. So that was just solely off the blue wire. So that could be driver's side, B pillar. That'll be driver's side window. Again, I'll label these, but I mean it's easy enough to bench test. So I'll show you again, exact same thing with the white wire. So when the white wire goes to ground, right? So that just rolled down for 3/4 of a second, that very bottom relay. So I'm still touching ground. It means that door is still open. So now as soon as I let go, let me see if I can zoom out a little bit. So as soon as I let go, which means you've closed the door, you're breaking ground. Okay, so now it's rolling up the window on that side. So the way that the wiring on these mini relays work, I've only just kind of half-assed put these together. They're soldered and shrink wrap, but the reality is I don't know if there's enough wire here for you to be able to get from wherever you decide to mount this, be it behind the seat, in the trunk, in the fender, I don't know, whatever you're going to do. There's probably 10 feet of wire or so on each side here. So there's 3 conductors in each of those wires: red, black, and white. So it doesn't matter. So there's these little, DuPont connectors that are on here. So the red wire that comes out of this harness, whatever, it doesn't matter. Don't worry about what color the DuPont connector is. But the red wire goes to VCC on the relay board. White goes to input 1. Black goes to input 2. And then I'll give you some DuPont wires as well for ground. Okay? So then it'll be the same thing on the other side. So red is VCC, white is 1, black is 2, and then you have a ground that goes to chassis on the other side. So part 2 of the video that I have yet to make is that this fires your windows up and down, but those 61 and 2 motors also require additional constant power, regardless of whether they're going up or down, to energize the coil. So this will work for the 63s, but it won't work for the 61s and 2s. So what I'm actually going to do is, I've got a pair of relays to further add to the wiring, and essentially I will use there'll be a diode that comes off of each side of these to fire a relay to give you 12 volts to energize the window motor, so that the 61 and 2 window motors will work together, will work properly. So that's it for part 1. Part 2 is yet to come. Probably be a day or 2, maybe more. Who knows? I'll have to see if I have diodes in order to do that. So hopefully that covers everything. But if not, just let me know. Cheers.